Hello, welcome back to my YouTube. I am Matt, and we're back for another masterclass, this time on Gouging Fire. And we have Will, or Wiltank as he may be known to a lot of you. Will, introduce yourself and tell us why you love Gouging Fire.
Hello, channel. Hey, Matt. Thanks for having me on. I'm Wiltank. I've been laddering since Sword and Shield, but I started competing in like actual events in Scarlet and Violet, and my best result to date has been with this beautiful beast you see on screen right here. Yeah, here to discuss that guy.
That's great. So, without straight into it, we're going to talk about what makes Gouging Fire good. So, I believe,
Oh yeah.
yeah, I believe it started out like people were always like the early builds are sort of like Dragon Dance, that kind of thing. But I think Will really broke open what this mon could do and sort of looked at the support set.
Yeah, so I think what happened. I think I might be the first like big result with the house set. It was Tom Hayden did a tournament like right after the last DLC came out, over like Christmas of 2023, and I was a big fan of in Reg E that Roaring Moon set that had booster energy speed with Breaking Swipe and Tailwind, and I was thinking about Gouging Fire, and I was like, I bet this dude probably gets Breaking Swipe, right? And then I looked at his stats. I was like, he can still get the speed boost. And I was like, wait a minute, this guy can basically just do what Roaring Moon does, except instead of Tailwind, he has Howl, and he's not weak to Flutter Mane. Like, he doesn't have to Terra in front of a Flutter. And so I kind of took it from there, and then I just started thinking, like, what likes to get howled? And I started thinking about how Luca Trega used to always run that Howl King Gambit team. And I was like, well, Gouging Fire is kind of just like a prehistoric badass version of Arcanine. So I just tried that, and it worked out super well. I bubbled top cuts. I got like top 32 in that big, like 900 person tournament, and then a few weeks later, I took it to Charlotte and got 12th. So that was really fun.
Absolutely, yeah. And like you say, it's as a Paradox mon, it's got incredible BST. Like its like base defense stat is enormous. It's fast. It's got loads of attack. So when it's hitting, it's still doing a lot of damage. And like you say, it's got a really deep move pool. Actually, there's like a lot of stuff you can run on it. And I think you sort of innovated Snarl on it as well.
Yeah, that's a funny thing. So like after the Tommy tournament, like I was the only person to my knowledge that was using this Gouging Fire. So like I did well in that Tommy tournament, and I was like, yeah, it's good. It was good for that tournament, but like I don't know if this is like actually a thing that's going to stick around. I took it to some locals like the weekend before Charlotte, and I was just like bubbling every local I went to, and I was like, I don't know if this is even it. And but there was a guy in my local scene, Jeremiah, who was also using Gouging Fire, but he was using Snarl over Howl, and he was just winning every local. And so the week before Charlotte, I just like tested out the Snarl version, and I liked it almost just as much. I think overall the Howl set is probably better, but the way that I played it with like just having this fast guy that's like faster than everything that's not in Tailwind, that can just like drop either their special attack or attack, and then just like let my balance pieces do their thing more freely, felt really really good. So I
Absolutely.
used him mostly as like a fast damage mitigation guy instead of like a damage mitigation slash damage boost guy, but it worked out super well.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a really cool way of running it. Like you say, you're not really worried about the damage you're doing. You're just like slowing down the opponents, allowing your pieces to set up and position. Yeah, it's as we're gonna see on the next slide. It's has some really big results. Reg F, it was, I'd say, one of the success stories of Reg F. I mean, you can see
Oh yeah.
Charlotte, Knoxville, like Dortmund and Vancouver all Reg F, and they massive results for it. It did get its win. Yeah, it took a while. James Evans got a second and
Yeah,
had to run it back, but
my guy. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
That's awesome. That's actually the six that I used in the Tommy tournament too. So it was so awesome to like see that winter regional. It was like, oh my god.
yeah. And this it's really
um,
satisfying seeing something you've like sort of worked on, like even if it's not you, do well. Like
yeah,
yeah, like the Cabalion team that me and my group ran in Reg G.
yeah,
Like, I didn't do well,
yeah.
but
That's
my
cool.
friend did, so that's fine. Like it's really cool to see him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
No, that team is super sick.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I forced it upon my friends for long enough that they all believed in it enough to take it to Birmingham. So yeah.
I mean,
So
you're basically just playing GS Cup before everyone else. You have your own Zama, your
I know.
Iron Zama.
Oh, you're a big Summer guy, aren't you? So you know the
Yeah.
merits.
Oh yeah.
So yeah. So
One thing
yeah, sorry.
one thing about this results, if you look at it, I'm pretty sure every one of them, like the guys that like you need on this team, except for the John Marks team down there, I guess. But I feel like the guys you need to just make this core work in Reg F was just the Gouging Fire, the Ogerpon, the King Gambit, and the Fluttermane. Because with just those 4 guys, you literally have a Fire, Water, Grass core and a Steel Fairy Dragon core with just 4 Pokemon. And then you just have like the other 2 to round it out.
Yeah,
so it's just so strong.
Yeah, it's such an awesome typing for filling out that core, which we'll discuss sort of when we talk about what to partner with it. I know it's a bit different now in Reg G, the second. It's run a lot differently, which we will get to. But yeah, it just sort of highlights how successful it was, especially in the pre-restricted format. It was just an unbelievable one, and yeah, did extremely well. Now we'll talk about some of the sample builds. So we're actually going to talk about the teams in a bit more depth. We will start with your Charlotte team. So sort of tell us about how this team came to be, and how you sort of stitched it all together. Like you say, you've talked about a little bit about the core already, but yeah, how you rounded it out and sort of how, like, was it a Gouging Fire team first, or was it like a King Gambit team first? Yeah.
It was a Gouging Fire team to start with. I wanted to play in that Tommy tournament, and that idea just came to me. And I decided to throw it together. I started with the Gouging Fire King Gambit, and then I threw Rillaboom on there too, because Rillaboom just seems like it. I mean, terrain control is nice. Pairing Howling up to get like a boosted Grassy Glad seemed nice. And then it came to me like, I want like a water type on this team. And I was thinking about Urshifu, and then I was like, wait a minute. With Wellspring, if you run Howl and Breaking Swipe, you can basically like control the stats of the board so much. Like, you can boost your special defense by tearing your Ogerpon. You can lower their attack with Breaking Swipe, and you can boost your attack with Howl. So it was just like, it just gave you so much flexibility with your stats. And I went from there, and then honestly from there it was just like, I just need special attackers now. So I just threw on a Specs Fluttermane and a Landorus, because I was like, Incineroar looks kind of annoying for this team, so I'm just going to have like a big FU button in Landorus. So that's where that was. And then, like I said, with the whole thing with the locals, where like the Howl just wasn't working for me. My friend was doing really well with Snarl, so I tested Snarl out. And right before Charlotte, there was like a lot of talk about how Farigiraf Blood Moon was like really coming up. Like it won like a VR tournament right before Charlotte or something. And so like I was getting scared of that. So like I tried a Mungus on the team, and the I don't think if I still had Howl, I don't think a Mungus would be good. And if I still had Rillaboom with Snarl, I don't think it would be as good. I think the Snarl Breaking Swipe plus a Mungus is so good, because there were some games where I would just lead Gouging Fire or Mungus, and it's like, no matter what your offensive threat is, I'm dropping that stat and I'm getting a Spore off. And like I could just slow down the game so much early on, and then just like have my Specs Flutter coming in the back and just like sweep. So stuff like that was super fun.
Absolutely. And then we look at Evans's winning team. It is very similar. He's reverted back to the Rillaboom that you started with, and then he's gone the Howl set, which obviously, like you say, seems like Howl plus Rillaboom or Snarl plus Amoonguss sort of seems to be the way to do it with your grass type or your secondary grass type. Obviously, Wellspring is present on both. I have vivid memories of just staring down a Gouging Fire and a Wellspring. Like, I don't know how I break this. Like, it's just
it's so strong, dude. Yeah. And you can see on James's team here, like when I ran Gouging, I was running Grass Terra because like I had 2 Amoonguss immunities, but I wanted another one, and also like the fact that Spore can go through Burning Bulwark. I was like, I really just want Grass Terra on this guy. But as Gouging Fire itself became more popular, you had to worry about other Gouging Fires, and the Breaking Swipe war is not fun. So a lot of guys started picking up Fairy Terra. Like Dondozo started running Fairy Terra around this time too, just so like they wouldn't get Breaking Swipe to death. So that's a cool innovation that happened.
Absolutely. And then if we move on to so we're looking at some Reg G stuff now, because I think that was sort of the established Gouger archetype back in Reg F, which was really successful. So first of all, this is one you sent me. It's just like how you would maybe run it, like with the cloak and the support set. I think this is a really cool way of doing it. I don't think it's really popped up much, but it's like, I think it's quite an interesting innovation, especially with the cloak, of like a way to run it in Reg G.
Yeah, that seems like Gouging's not as good in Reg G, but the one bonus is that you got strong Sunsetters, so you can get away with not running booster energy. And with this set, I was just like, man, it would be cool if you could run all 3 of those moves, like Snarl, Breaking Swipe, and Howl, and not even need to protect. So I just threw the perfect flip on it. I haven't tested this team at all, but yeah, if I were to try Gouging Fire, this is probably where I would start.
Absolutely. And then with this, there's also been sort of the outbreak of some more offensive Gouging Fires. I believe Michael Zhang here ran banned, which is we're talking before the call. I mean, Will, tell them the count.
Yeah, this guy is insanely strong. I mean, Gouging Fire was strong when I was running him with like 36 attack EVs. I think it's only, you need 176 Jolly, and you can one-shot a Zamazenta with Choice Band and Sun. It's just ridiculous. And like, Koraidon already has a good matchup into Zama, so I think like Gouging is probably better on the Groudon team because Groudon does struggle with Zama. But like having Gouging Fire that can just like outspeed and probably wouldn't outspeed if you have the attack boost. You can probably you get the attack, you can get the speed boost and still one shot it. So yeah, I think Choice Band is probably the way to run it in this format, just because you don't need the boost energy. But yeah,
absolutely. And then obviously people have been innovating on it as well. There's this Chinese Sun team that came up, and it did disappear quite quickly and didn't really have a notable tournament result that I could find, but it was another cool way of running it, and this one had a clear amulet set, which is pretty cool. See, it's sort of a hybrid set of like it's offensive with Flare Blitz, Swipe, and Howl for itself, or with the clan, but obviously,
I think the Terrafire kind of makes up for the no ban though. I think you can still Terrafire this guy in Sun and pick up Zama, so it's still there. That calc is still there somewhere.
Absolutely. So yeah, this team was really cool. It did tail off. I think another sort of outburst in Kali sort of slowed down how good this was. But yeah, it was everywhere online for a while, and like it still went to tournaments and did decent. But it's another thing to highlight. So yeah, if we now move on to the next slide, it is how to pilot it. So how do you talk about in particular, I suppose the pre-Reg G Gouging Fire, but generally, how do you pilot Gouging Fire? Like how do you approach it? Is it a lead always? Is it a back guy? Is it a how do you position it? When do you know to ball work or just fire off a howl or
It really is kind of a team dependent. Like into a lot of teams, I will just lead like Gouging Fire, Ogerpon, Gouging Fire, Rillaboom, or something like that. But as the format went on and like the mirror became more and more common, I found that like the best way to actually play the mirror, a lot of people were just leading their gouging into me and were just prepared to do like a breaking swipe war, I guess. But the way I would play into those kind of teams is like you just lead the Ogerpon and Fluttermane, and like the way that the damage, like the way that the access to their damage works out is like they have to, if you just click follow me and Terra Fairy Dazzling Gleam, before they can get through your Ogerpon clicking follow me and kill your Flutter, you've already done so much damage to that team with Dazzling Gleam. So like one big way I would like to play the team is just like lead that. Chip the whole team with Dazzling Gleam, just like let Ogerpon go down, Flutter goes down eventually, and then you bring out like Gouging plus Rillaboom or something, fake out Howl, and then you just got a +1 Heat Crash, +1 Grassy Glide to finish the game out after you've chipped everything with Gleam. So that's really how I like to play it. When you couldn't lead it, obviously leading it is really fun, but you didn't have to lead it. So that was the really fun thing about it.
Absolutely, man. No, it's really cool, and like they say, it's scary on lead because it slows you down so much, and it's scary in the back because it can like you say, help you clean end games. So really cool. And then
it just sets the pace of the game.
Yeah,
really well.
Yeah, so it's a very good control mon, so to speak. It's it helps like you do what you want to do with the board when it's present, which is what makes it quite a fascinating mon. It's not. I think that's why I quite enjoy talking about the support pieces, and like I know it is a decent damage dealer as well, but like talking about support pieces is really interesting. It's like how they control the board. Like we're talking to Ardy in the first video about Clefairy and how just it being on the board sort of draws attention away from your setup mon. Or it's really So if we now talk about partners, I think we sort of alluded to some of these as well, but like what are you looking for in a partner for Gouging Fire? So say we can talk about Reg G and Reg F, so like sort of a restricted and non-restricted format. Like what are you looking for of your like? Actually, I really like this guy. Like he's really cool. He's a favourite mon, or he has the toolkit that I want to use. What do you want to surround it with? Like I think these are some just
in Reg F.
Either format. Yes, go on.
Okay. Yeah, in Reg F, it was mostly like you wanted to find a physical attacker that wanted the Howl boosts and also didn't care about Incineroar, or could at least hit Incineroar back. So like Ogerpon was nice because you could just Howl Ivy Cudgel it, King Gambit. obviously really nice. And then Rillaboom is kind of the guy that can like afford to not have a good Incineroar matchup because the other guys are just so good. So it really is just about like finding the physical attackers that pair with it, typing wise, and that can just not get rolled over by Incineroar. Because like an Incineroar coming in and intimidating and parting shotting over and over, that can like actually outpace your Howls. So that's a big part of it. And then in the Reg G format, I really think it's just like go big or go home, go choice band, put it on a Sun team, and just have that guy be your physical Charizard essentially, and just one shot all the Zamazentas. I think that's how you play him in Reg G. But yeah,
awesome, man. No, and that actually brings us to the end of our Gouging Fire Masterclass. It is a new mon. There's not a great deal to talk about. It's only been legal for 2 formats so far, so we spoke about both of those in detail. It's a really cool mon. Try it out. Like, tell us what you think in the comments. Like, yeah, Will's an expert. Will's a great guy to ask about it. I'm sure send him a tweet. He can send you some advice on Gouger. It's a really cool mon. I think it's really versatile. Really fun to talk about. So yeah, without further ado, we'll plug our socials and then we'll get out of here. So start with you, Will. Where can people find you?
You can follow me on Twitter at Wiltank. It's Miltank with a W. And on Twitch, I'm a true Wiltank because I forgot the password to the old Wiltank. So I'm true Wiltank on Twitch. I stream every now and then.
So do you actually have the original Wiltank as well on Twitch? You just no passwords?
I have it. I have it. I just didn't want to go through the rigmarole of finding out the password, so I just made true Wiltank like a few years ago.
Amazing. Cool. And you can find me on Twitter as well, the Postman P, and Twitch, the Postman P, nice and simple. Yeah, tune in. I'm streaming a bit more regularly at the moment, so yeah, really enjoying that. Come hang out. And without further ado, we'll see you next time.